Therefore, I repeat, evacuate City 17 at once, if not sooner. I cannot state this without...
बीच में ही बंद कर दिया था मैंने और हाफिज साहब आ गए थे.
We're really happy with the zombies grenade behavior. It adds sudden danger spikes to the zombie horde, which forces players to quickly reprioritize the target. And since the player can grab a grenade out of the zombie stand with a gravity gun, this dangerous... We're really happy with the zombies grenade behavior. It adds sudden danger spikes to the zombie horde, which forces players to quickly reprioritize the target. And since the player can grab a grenade out of the zombie stand with a gravity gun, this dangerous spikes can be converted into offensive opportunities. This kind of turnaround skill shot creates some dynamic, satisfying hero moments for the player. Originally, we didn't allow the player to snatch zombie grenades because we barely broke the friction of the gravity. If players could grab a zombie grenade, why couldn't they grab the combine soldier's guns? After protesting the grenade still there, fun came out of it.
It's here.
अल्लाह उल्लू What? मैंने सारे वॉइस नोट सुन लिए. मैंने सारे ट्रैक शायद सुने नहीं है कमेंट्री वाले.
Oh my god. I hope it's still light out.
अच्छा एमो खत्म ही हो गया शॉटगन का. तीसरी बात है.
Thank God, it's still day. Let's get out of here. No, it's locked. Hey, can you let us out of here? Hello?
अच्छा मेरे पास क्रोबार की तो नहीं है, भूल गया.
They can't hear us, I guess. Can you see any way to get this open?
मैं निकालूं कैसे?
That's it. See if the crank still works. Come on, Gordon, crank that thing. Great. Okay, let's get to the train yard before the Citadel blows.
The destructive pulse forced
Finally,
from the
fresh
entire
air.
network of linked
Oh my
Citadel
God.
reactors. Thus, for the
Striders
time being,
really tore
I
the
believe
hell
that
out of
all
this place.
combined portals have failed completely, as well as all communications systems.
This City
based on that
17 Vista
technology.
is an explicit visual
I've
reward
never
for
been
surviving
happier
the
to see
elevator
that
battle.
decliner.
Cut off.
Since early playtesters told us that we weren't communicating just how damaged the city was, this sweeping view of an extremely messed up City 17 serves a practical purpose, as well as being a nice moment of calm between storms. The framing of your first view of the Citadel in this Vista space is very deliberate. We included various leading elements, such as wires and light poles, that all drive the player's eye to the Citadel.
Later in the level, there's a combine gunner protected behind some metal plates, just like the ones blocking the player's way here. We placed them here as a training tool to remind players that the gravity gun can grab and detach these things.
They're looking for something. Probably us.
We continue to diligently generations of scientists and technicians.
From the rooftops.
Repelling soldiers presented a difficult training problem because we found it's tough to focus the player's attention upward. This entire alley was carefully designed to ensure that the player would see the descending soldiers. First, we framed the soldiers in a straight line of buildings. Then we had them run across the rooftops so they were starkly silhouetted against the sky before they dropped down in front of the lightly colored buildings. Finally, we added a distinctive sound to the repelling action so that the players would recognize it later in the game.
I was hoping we'd get a bit farther before they noticed us again.
Character AI is all about putting on a good show. We near the end of production, we were still unhappy with the way that Alex handled herself in combat. The most common thing she did was run backwards while shooting at the enemies. It was fairly realistic, but kinda boring. So we added crouching and aiming at the last minute. And though it didn't really change her combat effectiveness in any functional way, it made her a whole lot more fun to watch. And this is a really good example of how these relatively minor presentation and behavior changes can often have a really major impact on entertainment value.
The post-Half-Life 2 look of City 17 was difficult to nail down, and we went through many changes. We wanted to establish several things, primarily that this was a different part of the same city with a slightly different atmosphere, and that it had been severely damaged. This street was a test bed for a lot of our visual design work. First, we built an intact city street, then we beat up certain buildings, in some cases removing them entirely so that more destruction was visible in the distance. We did an initial lighting pass in the game engine and then took screenshots of various locations. Using Photoshop, we manipulated those screenshots to establish a color scheme. Photoshop lets us quickly iterate through all kinds of skies, lighting styles, and color schemes. The environmental lighting colors that we ended up with were based on some photo references of the sun filtering through smoke from a forest fire. Some falling ash effects and a closer than usual fog plane helped sell the effect.
I'll cover the street while you figure this out.
Trip mine traps are great, but they were sort of hard to justify given the total chaos of City 17. Even though we couldn't use trip mines a lot, they made sense in this interrupted ambush scene.
और कुछ एमो है यहाँ पे. कोई भारी चीज डालनी पड़ेगी. कहाँ है भाई? इससे भी भारी चीज चाहिए वो.
Nicely done. Let's head upstairs.
This explosion permanently seals the cafe door, which has a few benefits. From a design perspective, we found that when we limit the amount of backtracking players can do, it gives them confidence to venture forward. And from a practical standpoint, we can clean up the now unreachable entities, giving us a big reduction in overhead. It also helps to minimize potential bugs and exploits.
And I'll rejigger it. Gordon, hold up a second. We can't get through here while that sniper's covering the street.
Originally, the player didn't get any weapons until the end of this map, so roller mines were the only way to kill the soldiers. As we added more content to previous levels, it became impractical for players to be without a gun for so long. As a result, players get weapons much earlier now.
Nice toss, Gordon. That sniper almost took my head off. Let me climb up and take a look at what we're walking into. Uh-oh. They've got the street fortified up ahead. You run point, okay? I'll cover you from up here till you reach the far end. When the coast is clear, I'll catch up. Okay, looks like I can get that ladder down to you. Let me shoot out the latch. I might be a little rusty with this rifle. Ha! Nope, guess I'm not.
One of the primary design goals of Episode 1 was to convey the sense that Alex and the player are a team. This sniper sequence provides an opportunity for Alex to offer combat support in a cool new way. It also gives the player a chance to watch zombies get sniped up close and from various angles.
Players didn't have any weapons in the original version of this map. That made it a lot more important to remove the boards with the gravity gun so that Alex could snipe the zombies. Once weapons were added though, the sky bridge became less of a puzzle and more of a straightforward combat event. We added more zombies to increase the challenge, but pulling the boards off is still the most fun way to get through this section.
Bruh.
glad that's over.
यहाँ कोई कमेंट्री होनी था
Oh God.
डेवलपर का
Looks like
कमेंट्री
the
कोई
reactor's
नोट
back
नहीं
on
था
track
यहाँ
for
पे
a meltdown. That transmission's going out after all. Oh! I'd like to find another way around these buildings, but we really don't have time. Okay, let's get in. Come on. Burn 'em. Get back.
Our AI is inherently unscripted, which means that we have to design spaces that permit our characters to make good choices. The AI is better able to make intelligent decisions when there are alternate routes through a combat space. This hallway started out as a straight-shot corridor with a door at the end for soldiers to enter through, but this design didn't provide the AI with enough choices to make the soldier behavior very interesting. Adding an additional space on the side allowed them to find cover and flank the player, both of which dramatically improved the entertainment value of this encounter.
The first prototype of Episode 1's door blast effect was here in the Combine garrison. Being peppered with chunks of wood while soldiers poured into the room through a haze of smoke proved to be an effective dramatic tool. It was also an excellent way to simultaneously ungate the player and flood the area with enemies. It was so unique in its successful playtest that we ended up adding it in several places throughout the level.
action really felt the need for a combat crescendo. Antline guards make great boss challenges, and we decided to add some combat forces to the mix because watching AI characters fight each other is always entertaining. This setup had a few other benefits as well. Since players had previously only fought alone against the guards, this was the first time they'd actually witnessed secondhand the effects of the guard headbutt. They'd also seen the APC in action, and in case there was any doubt, get definite proof that Combine soldiers and Antline guards don't get along, underscoring the collapse of Combine dominance in CD17.
Antline guard arenas have a few specific design requirements. For instance, since the guard is only armed with a melee attack, we can't let the player reach any place that's inaccessible to the guard, such as rooftops and other high perches, that the player could only arrive at after being launched by a guard headbutt. The arenas also need plenty of physics objects for the guard to toss, and at least one unlimited ammo crate, so that the player can't run out of ammunition before killing the guard. For this battle, we also introduced a steady stream of regular antlions to limit the player's ability to constantly hit the inside guard.
ओ भाई What the hell?
In early versions of this area, there was no side passage off the street, and the gash in the road was created by the gunship that the player later fights in the hospital attic. As development progressed, however, gameplay, story, and performance requirements made this initial design unworkable. The new side passage provided a short break in the combat tension after the boss battle, and also helped us stay within our performance budget.
Your vent crawling skills seem to be in high demand today, Gordon.
आगे क्या है? Dad. Ush, Dad. यहाँ ऊपर क्या है?
Oh, I'm back so soon?
ये लग रहा है इसी के अंदर ही रहना पड़ेगा। नेवर माइंड, उसके अंदर नहीं रहना पड़ेगा। ओह idea.
After the Antlion Guard fight, protesters were reporting some combat. We decided to include an environmental puzzle here to break up the pacing before the subsequent street battle. We originally worried that a densely packed room full of hopper mines, trip mines, and explosive barrels was a little too implausible. But playtesters loved the sudden reveal of the room and then enjoyed navigating it, so this ended up being another case where we accepted a trade-off between fun and maintaining a strictly consistent fiction. At one point, this was the site of a physically simulated elevator puzzle. It was kind of neat, but it caused a lot of problems in playtests.
Even though the puzzle mostly obeyed the laws of physics, it wasn't all in line with the way we had trained players to expect elevators to work in our world. We considered adding some earlier training to support it, but quickly abandoned the idea in favor of a redesign that was more immediately understandable while still being fun.
ओह क्या मजाक था ये क्या हो रहा है मुझे उधर जाना है भाई
There you are. I thought you might have forgotten about me.
एमओ भी फुल है क्या बात है
Uh-oh. Here we go again. Get back!
से हुआ क्या अच्छा ये वो
There's more of them.
मैंने वहाँ किससे डैमेज किया है किसी को बाय बाय
Hey, over here!
What are you still doing here? Everyone should clear out of the city.
The Combine's not making it easy. We're trying to get enough people together to force our way through to the train station. People are meeting up in a safe house nearby.
Can you take us there?
You bet. Let's go. This way.
ओ
Hey, it's me. Open the door.
What's the password?
I'm not even gonna tell you to shut up.
Come on in.
Previously, certain protein chains important to the process of embryonic development were selected.
My dad's Odessa Covage.
You're right. We don't have time to watch TV.
bro
Sorry.
Odessa Covage
Let's find another way up. Get back.
Oh. %100 की ब्रेक होगा
This space was designed to lure players onto a section of vertical floor and drops them into a room full of zombies. Players are enticed into the trap by some reward items and a chance to keep them in the hole. We like to surprise players, but we never want them to feel like they're treated unfairly.
नाइस एमो प्रिजर्व हो रहा है अच्छा खासा.
I blame Odessa Cubbage.
I met Odessa Cubbage one time.
Odessa Cubbage.
Gordon? Alex? I don't believe it. How the hell did you get out of the Citadel?
We're not exactly sure. All I know is the Vortigaunts had something to do with it. But what about you, Barney?
I'm doing okay, just going crazy trying to...
They found us!
Aw, hell, Gordon, were you followed again?
We stole some information from the Citadel on our way out. I don't know what it is yet, but it's important enough that they've been hounding us the whole way here.
Well, that puts the pressure on. Look, we gotta get moving. You guys know about the evacuation trains, right?
Yeah.
Well, we've been planning to make a push on the train station. Now it looks like we're gonna have to cut a path for every chicken ship Metro cop who's having second thoughts about defending City 17.
If Gordon and I took a separate route, we could draw the Combine away from you. That'd give you a chance to get the trains filled up before we get there.
Really? Well, if you say so. Now, come here, look over here. Okay, across this bridge, over the rooftops, is a safe path to the station. You two head that way. I'll hit the streets and round up everyone who's been waiting. We'll meet you there.
Sounds good. Let's go.
Hey, Gordon, before you go, I was getting tired of carrying this around. Listen, I don't have many more of these, so try not to lose this one, okay? Go on across, Gordon. She's waiting
Barney,
for you.
like Dr. Kleiner, is one of the characters with the deepest roots in Half-Life 1. His personality is more iconic and retains more of the comic stylization of the first game. This type of character allows us to mix up the mood a little bit, to inject some absurd humor into the otherwise grim scenarios of the Half-Life universe, while characters such as Alex and Eli Vance have allowed us to explore more realistic dramatic possibilities. We're still very much attached to our roots in satire and black humor.
Barney's big crowbar scene here required a few tricks to pull off. There are actually 3 separate crowbar models in this sequence.
What?
First, there's the one stuck in the machine. When Barney grabs that one, we remove it from the world and switch on a second crowbar that's been in Barney's hand the entire time, only invisible. Both of these models are purely decorative, so as soon as Barney makes his tossing motion, we hide the second crowbar and create a third usable crowbar that then bounces to the ground.
See you at the station!
These things.
मेरा बैकअप कहाँ है भाई? हेलो बैकअप. Oh.
Hey, a hospital. Keep an eye out for medical supplies.
Whenever possible, we like to foreshadow impending boss battles by introducing the enemy before the actual fight. In this case, you know you're going to be seeing that gunship again pretty soon.
Go, go. मैं आगे नहीं जा रहा. Go, go. कोई हेल्थ वेल्थ कुछ नहीं है यहाँ पे. अबे यार ये वो है.
Instead of letting the gunship AI have its own way here, we force the ship to crash right into it. It's a dramatic payoff for winning the battle, and it gives players an opportunity to examine a gunship up close at their leisure.
Oh, मेरे पास hair over.
We designed this gunship battle to create a dynamic, evolving experience, while still keeping the player within a constrained area. Initially, the space appears straightforward and provides plenty of cover. As the environment gets progressively more damaged, combat becomes more challenging. Players are increasingly open to enemy fire, and the path to the rocket crate becomes more difficult to navigate. As the roof breaks apart, however, the gunship also becomes more visible, and therefore easier to hit, keeping things relatively controlled. The lighting in this area was tuned to play off of the HDR tone mapping effects, between the dark inner spaces and the progressively open, bright sky above.
Instead of letting the gunship have its own way here, we force the ship to crash right into it. It's a dramatic payoff of winning the battle, and it gives players an opportunity to examine a gunship up close at their leisure. Instead of letting the gunship AI have its own way here, we force the ship to crash right into it. It's a dramatic payoff of winning the battle, and it gives players an opportunity to examine a gunship up close at their leisure.
We designed this gunship battle to create a dynamic, evolving experience, while still keeping the player within a constrained area. Initially, the space appears straightforward and provides plenty of cover. As the environment gets progressively more damaged, combat becomes more challenging. Players are increasingly open to enemy fire, and the path to the rocket crate becomes more difficult. As the roof breaks apart, however, the gunship also becomes more visible, and therefore easier to hit, keeping things relatively in balance. The lighting in this area was tuned to play off of the HDR tone mapping effects, between the dark inner spaces and the progressively open, bright sky above.
Instead of letting the gunship AI have its own way here, we force the ship to crash right into it. It's a dramatic payoff of winning the battle, and it gives players an opportunity to examine a gunship up close at their leisure.
We designed this gunship battle to create a dynamic, evolving experience, while still keeping the player within a constrained area. Initially, the space appears straightforward and provides plenty of cover. As the environment gets progressively more damaged, combat becomes more challenging. Players are increasingly open to enemy fire, and the path to the rocket crate becomes more difficult to navigate. As the roof breaks apart, however, the the gunship also becomes more visible, and therefore easier to hit, it's relatively imbalanced. The lighting in this area was turned down to the HDR effects, between the dark interspaces, principally over the bright sky above.
Wow! I mean, holy... That was... Jesus, Gordon, you're a real terror. Think it's dead? You should whack it with a crowbar just in case.
يلا يلا.
Oh, God, not again. Get back! So much for medical supplies. I found a shotgun.
Shotgun. Oh, never mind.
The hospital was a completely new interior space that we had to design pretty much from scratch. Like most of City 17's visuals, it was inspired by Eastern European architecture. The surgery lamps and the overall white and yellow color scheme were drawn from photos of a hospital in Chernobyl. The tilework and the high archways were chosen to give the area the institutional feel of an old European hospital. And the beds were based on some World War II images. In fact, we avoided modern-looking fixtures and furniture altogether in order to differentiate the place from a contemporary hospital.
We designed this area to be an entertaining showcase for NPC combat. Because of our dynamic AI, these kinds of battles never really play out the same way twice. Players often like to sit back, watch the show, and then dive into the fray at their own discretion. We also felt it was time to introduce a new combat ability for Alice, so we gave her a shotgun here. Not only are shotguns terrific for zombie hunting, their size and ponderous handling characteristics make for some great combat animations.
Oh, मैंने वो देखा ही नहीं.
The door-banging zombies are supposed to give players a safe glimpse of the threat they'd have to face later in the level. In the original design, players couldn't open the door. The zombies would burst through on their own after the player had done a little exploring. We abandoned that plan where many playtesters exhibited a pretty much single-minded fascination with opening the door as soon as they saw it. We made the door openable, though if players ignore it, the zombies will eventually break it down themselves.
To make the set of empty corridors look like a hospital, we chose some iconic hospital props that could be used multiple times throughout the level. Then we built the models with details, multiple skins, and vertical and horizontal elements that would be visually interesting in the space.
ये भी खुल सकता है वो.
After you. Oh no! Gordon, are you okay? Oh God, more zombies!
ना कर बे इसकी आँख वो वाले की माँ का. ओ. वो.
Too much of the same type of uninterrupted gameplay causes fatigue. Through repeated playtests, we learned that by the time players reached this part of the hospital, they were ready for a break from the intense combat. In response to that feedback, we inserted this relatively calm exploration puzzle as a change of pace. It gives players a respite from combat while still presenting them with an interesting challenge.
मुझे वो बैरल यहाँ डाल देना, एक मिनट इसको ऑफ कर सकते हैं. ऊपर चला गया मैं. बचत बचत.
Sorry about leaving you alone down there, Gordon. I got a bit swamped. You did all right without me.
तो जाना कहाँ है? क्या चल रहा है ये? नहीं? जाना किधर था? बे यार भूल क्यों गया मैं? ये क्या हुई? ग्लिच विलिच हो गया क्या? ओ अच्छा यहाँ जाना।
What you're seeing here is a visual representation of a node graph, a set of nodes and all the connections between them. The node graph is used by NPCs to figure out how to move around the world. It's not really a specific set of instructions, but rather a sort of information repository. Among other things, NPCs use the node graph to dynamically chart paths in areas, find cover, or scout out firing positions with a clear line of sight to their enemies.
This turret scenario was designed to showcase Alex's ability to provide cover for players in combat. She always hangs back a little, blasting anything that moves. In the original version, players could knock over lightly protected turrets with a single rocket, fired from the safe end of the corridor. We thought it'd be a nice way for players to feel like they pulled one over on the Combine. Unfortunately, playtesters routinely thought that they'd discovered a bug, or, at best, an exploit that had arisen from sloppy design. So in this case, a situation we deliberately created to make the players feel clever actually caused them to think we weren't doing our job very well.
Right.
As a result of this feedback, we added a force field and additional grading to better protect.
नहीं अच्छा सही हो greater protect.
At any rate,
The train station.
first, as a matter of...
Oh boy. They're
We
onto
wanted
us.
players to realize
Better find
that
Barney
they've been
and get
spotted
moving.
and the Combine are now aware of their arrival at the train station. It sounds like a simple task, but it actually took a lot of thought to draw the player's attention to the various events that communicate this message. First, a train horn sounds, which gives Alex an opportunity to mention that the station is in sight. Next, the lights go off to grab the player's attention and to make the monitors stand out in the dark. At this point, the player should be looking at one of the monitors, so finally, the Kleiner transmission is interrupted briefly by a Combine advisor. Originally, the advisor appeared on the Jumbotron on the side, but we were never able to reliably make playtesters look at it. The flashing Combine camera should also provide some indication that trouble is brewing.
Send out the first group.
Though it's not a proper gate, the zombie draped over the exit is designed to slow the player down just long enough for Alex to finish her lines.
Originally, Barney started off in this map in the doorway down by the citizens, but playtesters tended to wander around for a while before stumbling across him. We moved him up here to guarantee that his scene with Alex would unfold before players began any exploration. He's standing over a dead Metro cop because it's a plausible-looking long-term activity, in case players don't move directly down to him. Nearby reward items also tend to draw players toward him.
Here we wanted to include something a little different, an escort mission. Most of our gameplay involves constant forward motion, so we wanted to design a situation where players would fight through the same basic area multiple times. This temporary backtracking would create a series of encounters where players had a full tactical awareness of their surroundings. Once again, all of this turned out to be more easily said than done, and this sequence went through a lot of iterations. Originally, the train yard was one big space. This approach had a couple of problems. Since players had a constant unbroken view of the entire area, it was virtually impossible to maneuver enemies into position for stage combat events, and because they could always see the goal, players didn't get much of a sense that they were leading citizens somewhere the citizens couldn't get to on their own. Ultimately, we broke the environment into two different spaces, a parking lot and a maintenance building. Because neither area can be seen from the other, we're able to repopulate the spaces with new, more deadly combinations of enemies while the player isn't looking. It also makes the journey feel lengthier and more significant. We wrestled with the problem of plausibly repopulating this area with soldiers between each trip. After several iterations, we decided to have the soldiers jump in through some high windows. This solution has several advantages beyond maintaining incredible fiction. It makes the incoming enemies more immediately visible, and, since the windows are unreachable from the ground, players aren't able to exit through them. Plus, leaping soldiers turn into tumbling ragdolls when shot, which is always entertaining.
Well, that wasn't so hard. We should have brought everyone over at once. Go back and get another group. I'll stay here and guard the gate.
Gordon, defend the citizens. These are our people.
Gordon Freeman.
Keep your heads down. I thought we'd never make it. Okay, they're safe. Go for another group.
Aí?
This
पता था इतना डैमेज हो जाएगा उससे। डायरेक्ट लैंड होने पे इंस्टेंटली फट जाता है।
Fantastic ass kicking, Doc.
We've got you covered. Hurry up, people. Hey, Freeman.
ओ फंस गया तो अब मैं क्या करूँ? अबे यार वो बंदा फंस गया है वहाँ पे, क्या करूँ मैं अब? अब ऐसे बग्स का मैं क्या करूं? निकलना यार। ये कहते हैं NPCs का डैमेज ऑन रखना चाहिए। कुछ ऐसा है भी नहीं मेरे पास इससे हिल जाए। Babile.
We've got you covered. Bring another group of citizens, Gordon.
अच्छा बेटा बचे ही अब।
Bring another group of citizens, Gordon.
तो वो मारा था सही है वापस छोड़ दे।
Now that's the Gordon Freeman I know. Take these folks to the train and keep them safe.
ओए
Keep your heads down.
It was touch and go for a minute there.
We're ready for another group of citizens.
चल वहाँ से पढ़ लूँ रेड तो टायर थी
To the trains, people!
अच्छा बाढ़ अब सादा है सही है
Hurry up, people!
Thanks,
Keep your
Freeman!
heads down.
मैं वहाँ से रॉकेट शॉट लेकर आता हूँ और लेट में कैसे आते रहेंगे
Blood loss detected.
सामने आओ बेटा कहाँ है
Deja vu.
That should keep them off our backs for a while.
You guys coming?
Go on, Barney, they're not after you. Gordon and I will draw their attention while you get the others away from here. We can grab another train once you're clear.
Okay then. Don't take too long about it, yeah?
Here, let's open up this next track.
We needed a train station, but we didn't want something that was too similar to the one in Half-Life 2. We decided to give this station a more industrial look, to make it a place where trains were repaired and freight was offloaded. We included some Combine elements to help explain why the Strider can't fire through the various strategic barricades required by the game design.
I'll get a head start on the next train. No time to lose.
Bosses tend to require a specific combat style to beat, and we found that it usually doesn't make gameplay sense to keep her around. Plus, boss battles are the player's big hero moments, and having too much health dilutes the sense of individual accomplishment. Alex more or less sits out all of our boss encounters.
For this climactic battle, we created a new AI that makes the Strider a more interesting opponent. It has a snappier cannon attack, can better track the player's movements, and it now has the ability to target the environment in different ways. For instance, its cannon fire can shove heavy shipping containers straight to the player.
This shipping container used to be accessible only after the player destroyed the padlock. Given the amount of stress during this part of the game, even a simple puzzle, in this case, destroying a lock, would be completely missed by the player. In the end, we felt like the arena we had built for the player to fight the Strider was fun enough without the fun, so we renamed it.
We often use goodies, such as this crate and the scanner battery around the corner to guide players along the preset route. We want players to hit their marks during the battle without drawing attention to the fact that they're being subtly manipulated down a particular path. We often use goodies, such as this crate and the scanner battery around the corner to guide players along the preset route. We want players to hit their marks. Oh! We often use goodies, such as this crate and the scanner battery around the corner to guide players along the preset route. We want players to hit their marks.
We wanted to keep the tension high in this fight, but we also realized that players would need some cover. The destructible panels satisfied both those design goals. Effectively, they're time shelters. Players can hide behind the panels, and the Strider will target them until they're destroyed. This gives the players brief periods of safety, during which they can
मैं भूल गया उसको डायरेक्टली करने से
We wanted to keep the tension high in this fight, but we also realized that players would need some cover. The destructible panels satisfy both those design goals. Effectively, players can hide behind the panels. The Strider will target them until they're destroyed. This gives the players brief periods of safety, during which they can plan their next move.
डायरेक्ट नहीं जा रहा था
We wanted to keep the tension high in the fight, but we also realized that players would need some cover. The destructible panels satisfy both those design goals. Players can hide behind the panels, but the Strider will target them until they're destroyed. This gives the players brief periods of safety, during which they can plan their next move.
We noticed during playtesting that players were often too afraid of the Strider's weapons to stand in front of and fire rockets. This was kind of a problem, because rockets are usually the only way to kill a Strider. To help players, we modified. We noticed during playtesting that players were often too afraid of the Strider's weapons to stand in front of it and fire rockets. This was kind of a problem, because rockets are virtually the only way to kill a Strider. To help players, we modified the Strider's AI so that a player-launched rocket will significantly delay the Strider's attack. This battle of reflexes lets players guide their missiles in safety, as long as they get their shot off before the Strider does.
Along with Vistas, positive feedback from Alex is one of our primary means of rewarding players. In this case, Alex's excitement over the Strider's destruction adds a sense of closure to the battle, and gives players the satisfaction that someone witnessed and appreciated their heroics.
The train the player rides out of City 17 had two major design goals. It had to visually connect the end of Episode 1 to the beginning of Episode 2, and it also needed to address some functional gameplay requirements of the second episode. Using reference material we collected on European train cars from the 1980s, we built a basic version of the train that level designers could test. Once we got the thumbs up from them, we added textures and lots of little details. The result is basically a caboose, combined with rounder, more streamlined elements from a passenger car.
Apart from being a big visual payoff to the episode,
Here we go.
there were several story requirements
We did it,
this
Gordon.
ending sequence needed to convey. It had to make it very clear that the Citadel was destroyed, that the Citadel
go.
pods had escaped,
We did it,
and
Gordon.
it needed to imply that the data transmission beam was streaming out of the ruins. We discovered that Alex had to be mostly silent during the scene, or else players tended to look at her instead of all the chaos around them.
Oh my god, the transmission's going out.
ये एपिसोड 1 का एंड था. If you are reading this, what? क्या था? if you're reading this, अभी 1.5 घंटा हुआ है। अभी मैं एपिसोड 2 स्टार्ट करते हैं भाई। एपिसोड 1/EP2। ओ मेरा पैर लग गया टेबल पे। ये क्या है? तो पहली बार देख रहा हूँ मैं। ये क्या है?
Oh my God, Gordon. I love you.
I love you too, baby.
What?
Go find Dad. I'll miss you too.
ये तो मुझे याद नहीं है।
The process is accelerating toward a dark energy flare.
पहली बार मैंने वैल्व का कुछ सिनेमैटिक इस तरह कट सीन देखे हैं।
She's in serious trouble. Hurry back.
The core is exceedingly close to collapse.
We need to get this and the transmission packet to my dad. I've got it right here. Now let's get the hell out of here.
For those so inclined, now would be an excellent time for procreation.
You two have to get out of the city. The citadel could blow at any moment.
Oh my God, the transmission's going out. They'll have it on the other side soon.
Welcome to Half-Life 2, Episode 2. We are at the midpoint in our trilogy of episodes, which will conclude in Episode 3. To listen to a comment...
Trilogy of episodes, which will conclude in Episode 3. Episode 3 कभी आया ही नहीं. Joke.
Commentary node, put your crosshairs over the floating commentary symbol and press your use key. To stop a commentary node, put your crosshair over the rotating node and press the use key again. Some commentary nodes may take control of the game in order to show something to you. In these cases, simply press your use key again to stop the commentary. Please let me know what you think after you've had a chance to play this, our latest installment in the ongoing adventures of Gordon Freeman. I can be reached at gayben@valvesoftware.com. I get about 10,000 emails each time we release a game, and while I can't respond to all of them, I do read all of them. Thanks, and have fun.
Starting Episode 2 in the crashed train has several purposes. From a story point of view, it establishes continuity with the end of Episode 1. but from a gameplay perspective, it allows players to reacquaint themselves with the basic movement controls in a safe, contained environment.
Oh, Gordon.
Our
thank
earliest
God
design
you're
had
okay.
the player scrambling out of the wreck high above the
Hold on a
canyon
sec.
and forced
I'll get
them
you out
to
of
make
there.
some precarious jumps to get to ground level. After seeing most playtesters fall to their deaths numerous times in the first 5 minutes of gameplay,
still
we
works.
optimized for perceived rather than actual danger.
Stand back. Here goes. Wow, I forgot what a kick this thing has. Here, you take the gravity gun. You're better with it than I am. When I couldn't find you, I got... I know. I shouldn't have worried. Well, we should keep moving. I'm sure the Combine haven't forgotten about us. I heard Vortigons a few minutes ago. Maybe they're still around. We've got a long way to go to find my dad. It'd be nice to have some extra help.
The destruction of this rail bridge was our first opportunity to showcase our new cinematic physics technology.
Oh my
We wanted to
God.
convey to the player the scale of the train wreck,
Citadel.
and the delicate balance the damaged bridge was left in as a result. The structural deformation of the twisted metal was modeled with the help of surface-based spring networks, driven by particle systems. In this case, we actually passed a rail car through the bridge and solved the deformation dynamically. For the collapse, we used an offline large-scale rigid body simulation, a technology typically reserved for the visual effects industry. In this simulation, we have about 750 moving parts, calculated with coarse convex hulls. These in turn drove a skeleton network to which the high-resolution geometry was skinned. Particles were then emitted from the transforming geometry and calculated in-game.
It's like the first days all over again. I hope we don't get many more.
Having established the super portal as a threat in the opening vista, we decided it would make a useful landmark as the player traveled toward White Forest. In Half-Life 2 and Episode 1, we could count on the Citadel being visible in many of the maps, casting its shadow over the world. The super portal plays the same role in Episode 2, anchoring the player in a world while providing them with visual updates on the developing threat. The addition of beam effects and portal storm shockwaves help bring the portal to life and make it more than merely a static background element.
For the ominous mass of clouds which swirl above the destroyed Citadel, we devised a shader effect to give the impression of depth and complex turbulence. The actual geometry rendered for this effect is a single flat polygon, but through a series of pixel shader effects, which composite several texture layers, we are able to achieve the impression of realistic churning clouds. In the offline pre-visualization work that we did to initially define this effect, we developed a very realistic simulation with more than 30 layers of clouds. With real-time shader techniques, we were able to achieve an equivalent look while maintaining an interactive frame rate.
The view of the ruined yet still dangerous City 17 is a good example of a classic Half-Life vista. Vistas are sweeping scenes where many elements of design come together. This one reminds the player of what he's accomplished in Episode 1 while setting up the threat that will hang over the rest of Episode 2. It establishes the mood with the stunning skybox and shader effects, shows off believable character responses, and also literally sets the episode into motion. When the player looks at the scene, a device called a look trigger sets off the portal storm, which causes the bridge to collapse, using Valve's new cinematic physics, which we'll be showcasing throughout the episode.
I wouldn't be surprised if the rebels use this place. So I really don't think I had any idea what I was getting into when I auditioned for the game, because I really had no clue what Half-Life was, what Steam was, or what Valve was about. But I did really have the feeling that it was something that was really heavy, since when I was in the waiting room, everybody that was sitting across from me just seemed like they were stars or recognizable faces. And then the first time that I sat down with the Valve team, they showed me some rough animations of Alex, and immediately I just couldn't keep my eyes off her. And she actually looked like someone I could be related to, and that has never happened to me.
In this first part of the episode, we're restoring the player's connection to Alex by recalling the sort of collaborative activities you shared with her in episode 1, from combat to collaborative puzzle solving. Notice that as she works to restore power to the transmitter, she's careful not to steal the player's fun by doing it all herself. She doesn't actually solve the puzzle, although she sometimes thinks she has. This adds to her charm and helps her feel more human. Of course, the reason we're doing this is so that you will care when bad things happen to her.
Let me see if I can get it working again.
This transmission scene was added fairly late in development, after hearing from playtesters that they weren't sure where they were going or why. Setting up the White Forest base as your goal right away was important in an episode with so many open, free-form areas where players might forget what they're supposed to be doing.
Go for it. Not sure what I did, but it worked. Now, check in. White Forest! White Forest, this is Alex Vance. Do you read? White Forest, come in. White Forest, are you there?
Alex! My goodness, is that really you?
Yes, and Gordon too. We're okay. We made it out of City 17.
Alex, thank God. I can hardly believe it.
Don't worry, Dad, we're fine. But something really strange is happening with the Citadel.
Oh yes, we've been monitoring the situation. The raw discharge of the meltdown has been focused into a coherent beam of portal energy.
It's the Combine. They're trying to open another gateway.
Yes, what you're seeing is the infancy of a super portal. If it attains full strength...
7-hour war all over again. Except this time it won't last 7 minutes.
My God. Gordon, what if that's why they were sending so much data from the Citadel? So that...
Data? From the Citadel?
In the control room. They were feeding huge volumes of data directly into the core destruction sequence.
Magnuson, did you hear that? I'll bet it's the Combine portal code.
Yes, I'm not deaf.
I downloaded the whole packet. They've been chasing us ever since.
Well, of course they have. You see, Kleiner, it's the linchpin of all of their plans.
Well, I can see that. I never said...
Somewhere in that sequence, they would have had to establish a connection with the far side. What you have there, young lady, is the specific contact code for the Combine overworld. Good God. If I'm right about this, and I have no reason to doubt myself, you are carrying the very code Dr. Mossman had hoped to recover. Now, how soon can you get here?
Well, we'll have to get our bearings, but we can definitely...
There is no time to waste. We'll need to step up the launch schedule. And now, as soon as you get here with the signature data, we'll encode the satellite and get the damn thing into orbit. Get here as quickly as you can, you two.
Dad? Dad! You're breaking up. Come in. Dad, are you there? Dad!
No. Remote compliance.
They're still tracking
Exterminate. Seek passive signature imprint. Mandate solar restrictions.
Come on, this way.
अबे यार मार भाई
Look out! Nice. That did the trick. I can always count on you to find a way through. Dr. Madison has an update. What was that? Did you hear that? Shh, quiet. We're not alone. Careful up there. I'll keep watch out here. Gordon, there's something snooping around out here. Ah! Oh my god. Ah! Gordon.
Utbringen seda oodab wrestling oldud.
The Alex Vance. What harm has come? Ah, the free man. I am pleased to see at least you are unharmed. But the Alex Vance, her condition is grave. Healing her will require more than I alone can conjure. Let me summon my kin.
From the beginning of Episode 2's design, we intended for Alex to be gravely injured and fall into a coma. However, the timing and nature of her injury changed dramatically. In the earliest version, the player woke to find Alex already unconscious. We wanted the player to be unsure of what to do, but instead this turned out to be merely confusing. In the next iteration, Alex balanced precariously in the train car near the player, only to slip and fall as the train shifted. This was unsatisfying because we have painted Alex as tough and agile. Having her injured in a fall seemed arbitrary and impersonal. We kept trying to add a stronger emotional aspect to her injury, something that would give rise to anger and fear. Around this time, the hunters were coming online, and we were having trouble giving them a really powerful introductory moment. Solving both problems at the same time, we introduced the hunters as the cause of Alex's injury.
Lead on!
Creating the sound of the Vort's call was a refreshing break from scoring huge explosions or the bridge destruction. We wanted something subtle that would communicate the Vort's general nature as well as its specific cry for help. Sometimes it can be difficult to process sounds while still giving an organic quality to the voice. To design a sound that contained a sense of the alien personality without just sounding like another animal call, we found a way to add and process overtones while subtly altering the phrasing of the pitch. The resulting sounds give the impression that the Vorts are in fact communicating among each other with a dynamic dialogue of calls as opposed to speech.
We must hasten. Her state is delicate. You scared? Press on, if you are able. I will take her to my kin by another path.
In early tests, playtesters didn't realize that antlion grubs drop health nuggets, since they tended to pick up the nuggets by accident after squishing the grubs. In order to showcase the feature, we placed a grub on the far side of this webbing. When a player breaks the web, they squish the grub and send the nugget rolling.
मैंने क्या कोई गलती कर दी है एक बार? ये 2023 के सेव हुए हैं.
Most players chase the nugget and naturally understand how to exploit grubs in the future.
The antlion grubs were initially created for Half-Life 2, to visually flesh out the life cycle of the antlions. We never found the right place for them in that game, but as we developed the antlion environments for Episode 2, they were an obvious choice for Resurrection. In addition to their role in the life cycle of the antlion, they provide an equally valuable service in these dark tunnels: light. As the grubs came to life, we made sure that killing them was more rewarding. In addition to the satisfying squish effects, we added the health nugget for ailing players. Soon, we found many players were compelled to squash every grub in the map. It's worth pointing out that grubs also play a role in our dynamic resupply system. The more injured you are, the more health they provide, which allows us to create a consistent level of challenge for players at differing skill levels.
इस लिफ्ट पे पूरा ऊपर तक जाना था इसलिए लो रिवॉल्वर ही मिल गई
Detected automatic medical. Morphine administered. अच्छा ये वाले स्विम नहीं कर पाते Detected.
is Gordon Freeman. The Vorticon Steady was on the way.
Gordon Freeman.
Dr. Freeman, Alex Vance is over here. DeBoer's trying to patch her up.
Griggs and Sheckley started off as minor characters who were just used to explain the setup for the turret battle. Once done, they died fairly quickly, leaving the players alone to fend off the antlion swarms. We found this left players unsure of their defensive strategies and would force them to visually survey the cavern before setting up defenses. So we made the two characters stronger and had them yell out their state to players, and even suggest what openings the players should cover. This gave players extra time to set up a defensive strategy before the antlions arrived. This also let us ratchet up the intensity level by slowly heightening their reaction to the threats. Once we realized this worked, we decided to separate the characters and create an Abbott and Costello style team, to do little bits during the downtime the players were using to set up their defenses. We ended up with entertaining character moments that also cued the player on game state and events.
Griggs and Sheckley's comment about not stepping on the grubs was originally intended for comedic effect, and to suggest that, as usual, Gordon Freeman had brought trouble in his wake. However, we found that some players took this comment too literally, and would spend the rest of the level avoiding grubs in fear of spawning more antlions. We experimented for a short time with making this an actual mechanic, bringing in antlions whenever grubs are squished, but this had several negative results. It made the tunnels far too difficult, and cancelled out any benefit the player got from squishing grubs for health. We decided to keep the grub behavior simple and rewarding.
In the prototype for this level, the Vortigaunt cleared the way by blasting apart a rock pile. After a new model was created for the generator, we decided to exploit the Vortigaunt's natural relationship with electricity by having him charge the generator much the way he charges Gordon's suit. We were then able to use generators as Vortigates throughout the level to indicate areas the player could only enter with the Vortigaunt's assistance.
In Half-Life 2 and Episode 1, players learned that turrets will always attack them, unless they are reprogrammed by allies. We needed a new visual way to instantly show that these new turrets are also allies, and decided to hark back to the aircraft nose art of World War II. The elaborate turret design also hints at how bored Griggs and Sheckley must have been sitting down here by themselves.
The breach is a rough, earthen tunnel, which many playtesters tended not to notice when the attack began. They felt they had been told to defend only the 3 marked tunnel openings. We addressed this confusion by changing the sequence of antlion waves so that the second attack came through the breach. Players then understood that all 4 openings were vulnerable.
My kin are still some distance away. For now, we must
The turret
not
battle design went through many changes. Early stages had the player controlling 3 turrets and not ever having to fight antlions directly. After playtesters complained of not having anything to do during the battles, we changed the number of turrets to leave the player underhanded, when in later rounds all the tunnels are active. This creates a better mix of resource management and combat. Later, we added this tweaked version of the hopper mines to give players yet another tool for fighting the onslaught.
We experimented a lot with the ammunition for this level.
Originally, we had a single ammo crate containing submachine gun bullets, positioned down near the elevator. Playtesters, however, seemed happier using a shotgun in this battle, so we added a crate full of shotgun shells and moved both crates to the top area, so players could easily trade off between different styles of gunplay.
At the climax of the turret battle, we introduced the Vortigaunt in full-on action mode. The player can and should take part in the battle, but we were very careful to make it fairly easy for him to hang back and enjoy watching the forts clear the room of antlions. We wanted to show off the Vortigaunt's new abilities and get the player excited about the role they were going to play as active allies in the struggle against the Combine.
In Half-Life 2, Lou Gossett's voice lent itself to a mystical and mysterious characterization of the Vortigaunt. In Tony Todd's reading for Episode 2, we heard new possibilities for a Vortigaunt who's more of a mystic martial artist. With new attack animations and companion behavior, we worked with Tony to build the Vortigaunt into a powerful ally, a full-on alien ass-kicker.
Every Half-Life game so far has started with Gordon Freeman weaponless. Assuming some players had just played through Episode 1, while others might not have played it at all, we had to decide how long we should spend parceling out new weapons and providing adequate time to player practice with each one. In this case, we decided to hand the player a number of weapons all at once, figuring most would have mastered their gunplay in previous episodes. We held off doing a lot of deliberate training until we began introducing newer modes of combat later in the episode.
We really gotta get ready.
अच्छा भाई इतने सारे वॉइस जनरेट तोबा.
This sensor will light up if an antlion's coming down this tunnel. More lights mean more antlions. When a tunnel lights up, we move a few turrets in front of it. Pretty simple, eh, Doc?
Hey, Doc. On your way here, you weren't followed, were you?
Don, listen to him, Doc. We're on edge because this place is riddled with antlions.
The Vort says as long as we don't step on their grubs, they shouldn't hear us this far from the nest.
Yeah, well, that's a theory I'd rather not test. We're down to our last 2 turrets, and even these are held together by baling wire and duct tape at this point. Nice to have them in a pinch, but I wouldn't exactly trust them with my life. Hey, Griggs, you might want to show Dr. Freeman where we keep the supplies, huh?
Oh, yeah. Down there by the Vort. Everything you need for doctoring. They're coming. One light.
Let's move. We have to defend the Vort.
As long as I stick to one tunnel.
Dr. Freeman, you take care of the turrets.
Shackley, look out! Like that! Tell me while I reload. I'm hurt. Freeman, but things were pretty quiet until you showed up. Swarm at 24!
Come on, let's go!
I'm coming!
जल्दी फेंक दिया
out, fella. Try to keep up. Let's just stay here.
We got 36.
You handle 12, Doc. Hey, if you see a bug on me, how about you try to get it off next time?
I didn't see it.
Yeah, oh, sure. They're only like 5 feet tall.
Sheckley.
What?
Sheckley.
What?
Forget it.
We got the breach. Hey, Doc, you cover 24.
Oh, God, they're coming from everywhere. 412. I got 10.
Yeah, well, we all got 10. There's hundreds of them. Hey, Doc, you cover the breach.
They're 12.
We got 24.
What's wrong with that? There can't be many more.
What the hell makes you think that? We got 12.
Incoming at 36. And the breach. And 24. Oh, God, they're coming from everywhere. Let's go, Shaq. this medkit.
3 lights! We got 3 lights!
Why are there so many? I think we misunderestimated!
Look alive!
Get ready. Oh God! Get ready! 3 lights! This is gonna be bad!
Bruh.
Hey, it's the Vorts! They made it!
Yeah, I knew it. I was just trying to scare you, Shaq.
Freeman. Our delay, regrettable. We killed many antlions, yet many more remain. We must attend to the Alex Vance. There is no time. More antlions approach. We shall quiet them.
Take this med kit. Shit! The whole place is lit up! Grab a tunnel!
You ready, Freeman?
exhausted their immediate number. Now to the next number. The Alex Vance. Your injuries are grave. This will necessitate deep submersion in the vortex. Indeed. We require the larval extract. Oh, yes. The extract. Yes. Agree.
I will make the journey to seek the extract, deep within the nest, in the sacred planetarium. But I cannot hope to bring it back alone.
We must remain to keep the Alex Vance alive. Please, Freeman, join me. Yes, take yes. There is no finer companion. Well stated.
Fuck is it?
One of the three main themes for Antline areas, the mines were a plausible setting for light sources, mechanical obstacles, and resupply. Visually, the mines offer good contrast to the natural cave areas and the more organic spaces the worker antlines have carved out with acid secretions.
The Antline web stacks, grubs, and workers show off a new illumination shader we developed especially for this level. We began with concept art for the web stacks,
modeled those, then added the material parameter that allows the model's self-illumination to be modified based on the angle at which the player views them. The end result is an object that looks lit from within by a weird volumetric light.
We wanted players to work cooperatively with the Vortigaunt just like they did with Alex in episode 1. We didn't want to make the Vortigaunt too powerful, or he might take away from the player's fun, but we also wanted him to be a good ally to have around. One solution, shown in this scene, was a shock attack where the Vortigaunt would stun a group of antlions so that the player could finish them off.
The antlion experience in Half-Life 2 was characterized by a mindless, constant onslaught of bugs rushing your way. We devised the antlion works for episode 2 as a way to add depth and variety to the underground sequences by leveraging new types of gameplay. Unlike normal antlions, the worker chooses to avoid direct confrontation, skulking in the background and lobbing acidic globs from a distance. This extends the amount of time players spend with each creature. By contrast, an encounter with an ordinary antlion is over in seconds. The spitting behavior was derived from the bull squid of Half-Life 1, but was updated to fit the more physical world of Half-Life 2. To that end, the spit globs are not merely sprites, but physically simulated objects, flying through the air along realistic trajectories.
Their corrosive spray commits quick carving of rocks, but it also serves as a strong deterrent to height.
This cave was originally designed with a pit in the middle, so the player could punt antlines into it with a gravity gun. In playtest sessions, however, very few of our playtesters actually used it in this way. The pit stayed in the room, but we changed the path to allow the player to descend into it and come back out.
Texturing of these caves provided a couple of significant challenges. We had never made such a large-scale area completely out of displacements before. The convoluted topology of the surfaces made them especially hard to UV map without unpleasant-looking seams and texture warping. After some early attempts, we decided that we were not going to be able to map this area using conventional UV mapping. We decided to write custom shaders, especially for the caves. Our custom shader combines multiple axis-aligned projections based upon the surface normal. This largely fixed our problems with stretching and seams. Since we wanted to provide dramatic lighting in these areas, particularly when lit by the flashlight, we augmented the source engine's radiosity bump mapping with a new piece of technology. This allowed us to create a form of bump maps in which the bump map surface details actually cast soft shadows across the surface. This emphasizes the surface bumpiness, especially when the light is at grazing angles.
The antlions are keen to our presence. Examine their existence as we proceed. The sad fate of these others is our good fortune.
Vital signs. Seek medical attention. Warning. Vital signs critical.
Your suit shows signs of stress freeness. Such traces of phobia. I am confident the Freeman will find a way to open that gate so that we may proceed.
Wherever possible, we try to mine our robust physics engine as a source of novel puzzles. It's especially valuable for giving realistic feedback to the player solving the puzzle. In this scenario, we designed the elevator to sink slightly whenever the player steps on it, giving instant intuitive feedback that it reacts to weight. This made it far more likely that the player would understand that he was dealing with a counterweight puzzle.
I will observe with great anticipation.
We like to lull players into a trance, then startle them. Here, we convince players they are expected to explore and solve puzzles for a long time. Then we abruptly change the mode of gameplay by throwing grenade-lobbing zombines at them.
छोड़ के चला गया वो वगैरह मुझे।
Pity the generator that requires the Vortigon to operate. Freeman is a quick thinker and a fast mover. I think you will be very glad you saved those crates.
Whenever possible, we try to give the player a glimpse of their eventual goal, even before they realize it is their goal. While we try to design such moments intentionally, sometimes the opportunities present themselves. In this case, while setting up the gag where the rail car slides into the abyss, we opened a hole in the wall and discovered a view of the distant thumper. It became clear that we could tailor the view across the giant cave
to foreshadow the spot where Gordon would eventually end up.
Return to the void. Return to the Only One. What next in the parade of constant obstacles? Fear not, Freeman, for I follow.
ये क्या हुआ? ये क्या था?
No pick would be complete without a
नहीं आ
Behold, a trespass. That makes me know Christ's promises to cease from endless antlion attacks. If the Freeman is in agreement, let us find our way to that vibratory haven.
भागते कैसे हैं?
Return to the Only One. So you have summoned the lift.
Vortigon's Dispel attack is a radial explosion that takes out a swarm of antlions. It looks most impressive when seen from above, but that's not a perspective the player gets very often in the tunnels. We designed the exit from this battle purely to give the player a view from above so the Vort could put on a show.
Observe how they fight on below, heedless of our escape. Well, this is all very amusing, but we must not forget the gravity of our game. A poignant scene. An eternity's repose. It brings peaceful thoughts, does it not?
Originally, this room came directly after a long stretch of combat with antlions, and opened up into more of the same. Players who opened the door were faced with another swarm, which they were expected to clear with a whole bunch of handy grenades. However, most playtesters were fairly tired of antlion combat at this point, so we decided that a complete break from antlions would be an even better alternative to blowing up more of them with grenades.
A glimpse of the Antlion Guardian in this level sets up anticipation for the more extended confrontation in upcoming areas. The player needs to know what he's getting into so that the Vortigon's warnings will all make sense.
Larval clusters. They are commonly posted near the young.
For most of this episode's development, there was a counterweight puzzle in this area, one the player had to solve while under attack by antlions. Although it was a clever puzzle, we felt the underground experience was already long enough, so we removed it and streamlined the path to the nectar. Having too many obstacles made it hard to keep up the sense that recovering the nectar was an urgent task.
Until we added the wooden landing here, players were very reluctant to jump down into the elevator shaft. Some playtesters went all the way back to the previous level looking for another way down. In the days of Half-Life 1, we depended on players jumping willy-nilly down every elevator shaft they encountered. But over the years, they've learned to be afraid of the things we tend to put down there.
The extract. We can rejoin them quickly. Bravely done, friend. When you reach the lower chamber, you must find a way to summon me. Remember, do not kill the Guardian, or the extract will be ruined.
blood toxin levels detected.
One of the major graphical enhancements we made to the source engine for Episode 2 was the addition of shadow mapping for the player's flashlight. This allows the flashlight to cast soft, dynamic shadows into the world, adding realism and drama to the scene, particularly in dark underground areas like this one, in which the use of the flashlight is required to navigate the space. As you move around, notice that all objects in the world cast and receive realistic shadows from your flashlight.
Early versions of this area had serious problems. It was brutally punishing and unfun. We were trying to make an experience about timing and tension, but playtesters perceive this as another boss battle. But without physics and explosives, there's no way to kill the Guardian. They would empty all their ammunition into him and die horribly over and over before giving up and running away. They hated it. Our first solution to this problem was to add an arena immediately before the maze, where we hoped players would use up most of their ammo and on head crabs and barnacles and not even try to shoot them. But clever players managed to lure the head crabs into barnacles and rush past while the barnacles were feeding, arriving in the Guardian's lair with plenty of ammunition and again, the false impression that they could kill the boss. In the end, it was necessary to have the Vortigaunt tell the player, "Remember, do not kill the Guardian or the extract will be ruined." Therefore justifying why you wouldn't be able to do what we didn't want you to do and what you couldn't do in the first place. This area is really fun now. The battle is almost exactly like the original layout. The big difference is that we're communicating our expectations to the player, rather than having them learn by dying.
In Half-Life 2, the Antlion Guard was originally meant to be a sort of superbug bloodhound that pursued the player through caverns and harassed him while he slipped into small spaces to hide. While we never realized that design in Half-Life 2, this scenario is, for the most part, exactly what his original design sought to accomplish. Over the course of many years of production on various titles, we found that ideas often go away into the ether for years or more, only to resurface and thrive in a new game environment. Even failed prototypes can flourish down the road.
Before we simplified the path through the Guardian's lair, we allowed a right turn at this junction, leading the player right back to where they began. One of our playtesters continued to repeatedly turn right here for half an hour. That was a compelling argument for removing the maze-like elements.
The antlion tunnels, carved out by worker antlions using their acid secretions, make up the third of 3 subterranean spaces with a distinctive visual style, man-made mines and natural cave formations being the other 2. The presence of crawl spaces was dictated by game design, but they evolved into chambers that fit logically within the life cycle of the antlions. Here, the young grubs can develop and feed in safety, although, conveniently for the player, they cannot digest useful items such as health kits.
One change we made to Episode 2 was to decouple the flashlight power from the suit power. Playtesters constantly had their flashlight on during the guard chase sequence and were unable to sprint to safety because the flashlight drained their suit's sprint ability. We wanted players to be able to outrun the Guardian with their flashlight shining. Sometimes we are forced to make trade-offs between conventions we've established in earlier installments and gameplay we need now. It would be silly to not have cool-looking underground passages just to keep flashlight behavior consistent until the end of time. As for the rationale within the story, players might assume this new feature was apparently the result of damage sustained in the train crash.
The antlion tunnels, carved out by worker antlions using their acid secretions, make up the third of 3 subterranean...
One change we made to Episode 2 was to decouple the flashlight power from the suit power. Playtesters constantly had their flashlight on during the...
The antlion tunnels, carved out by worker antlions using their acid secretions, make up the third of 3 subterranean spaces with a distinctive visual style, man-made mines and natural cave formation.
One change we made to Episode 2 was to decouple the flashlight power from the suit power. Playtesters constantly had their flashlight on during the guard chase sequence and were unable to sprint to safety because the flashlight drained their suit's sprint ability. We wanted players to be able to outrun the Guardian.
In early versions of this map, the tunnels here were more maze-like, with branches, loopbacks, and dead ends. After watching numerous playtesters get lost, it became obvious that they were not having fun. We simplified the paths and added a number of one-way choke points. The curving tunnels still keep the player in suspense, but as long as he keeps moving, he'll continue to progress, with very little time wasted in retracing steps.
In this scene, we wanted the player to feel under tremendous pressure to break through the boards. Ideally, they just barely make it through the opening before the Guardian arrives. To get this effect consistently, we had to reduce the number of boards again and again until we saw playtesters consistently scrambling to safety at the last moment.
In early versions of this map, the player was allowed to drop straight to the bottom of the shaft. Nobody ever saw the Guardian break through the boards. Therefore, we added a small floor area and required the player to turn around to break more boards, making it much likelier that players would see the Guardian's attack.
One of our toughest jobs is tuning for difficulty. There are all kinds of ways that sloppy game design can make players miserable when they're supposed to be enjoying themselves. If the player is laughing as he dies, it's a good sign. It means the death is perceived as part of the entertainment experience, that the player died fairly and not as a result of poor design. But if the playtester is beating his head on the keyboard, we usually take this as a sign that there's still work to be done.
This puzzle proved surprisingly difficult for many players. In an earlier version, not only did you need to find the spare gear, but this elevator was connected to a disabled generator that wouldn't operate until you also attached a crank and jump-started it with the gravity gun. Although it sounds simple, most playtesters got stuck here for many minutes. We kept simplifying until we hit the version you see here.
At various times in development, this gear was loose in the environment, tucked in a dark crevice, hidden in a small box, or lost in the bottom of a flooded pool. One playtester, unaware of his low health, actually drowned in 2 feet of water while retrieving the gear. We realized that attaching the gear to a chassis identical to the engine motor was the best way to help the player make the connection between this gear and the empty space on the other assembly.
The scent of ripe perfection beckons. Follow me while I travel to the source. You have done the hardest work, admitting entrance to this chamber. Truly, the life of Alex Vance is in able hands.
We had wanted to implement a generalized particle system for quite some time, and after episode 1 we set out to create one. In previous Half-Life games, each effect had been hand-coded by a programmer working with an artist. It was effective, but not easily scalable. Our new system drew upon the aspects we found most useful from team members who had worked with both real-time systems in games and offline renderers for movies such as The Lord of the Rings. The results were an artist-friendly, modular, component-driven system. Each system can have renderers which display the particle in some form, initializers which set up certain properties of the particle, operators which carry out actions upon the particle each frame, constraints which provide movement limitations such as collision, forces which impart complex dynamics, and emitters which determine how each new particle is created. Together they are plugged into a system as needed to be as lightweight or as complex as required for the effect. Each individual component is simple, but when combined can create rather complex dynamics. Furthermore, adding additional components to support the specific needs of a game or a mod is easily done. The results can be seen in everything ranging from the simple glows of the larval extract here, to the citadel effects, blood, smoke, hunter effects, portal effects, fire, and so forth. Dynamic effects are now in the hands of the artists, who can use them to create whatever is needed, from unique one-offs in specific levels, to generalized effects for gameplay.
When the Vortigant discovers the extract, we wanted to do something to distinguish the nectar from all the other glowy alien substances that we've seen in the caves so far. Therefore, we had him perform a bit of a chant and had the extract give off a show of its own.
Truly, Freeman, well done. You bear some traits we thought innate to Vortigine. Antlion husbandry was once our ancestral practice. The creatures exude many valuable compounds, but the extract is the most prized by far. It dissolves the false veils that divide the vortessence. All this you shall witness
when level glowing effect अच्छा डाला हुआ है.
No pulse. Her hand is stopped. She ebbs. If we lose her, we lose all.
One of the most significant story meetings we had near the beginning of episode 2 concerned how much we were going to reveal about the G-Man. Once we decided exactly how much to explain, we had to come up with a way of revealing it. Alex's healing sequence offered the perfect way to pull Gordon out of mundane surroundings and put him in a realm where the G-Man can speak to him directly, but dialogue is only one of our tools for narrative. By blending images from the past, the present, and the immediate future, we continue to stitch together the Half-Life story over time. We make clear that the events at Black Mesa continue to resonate, and we draw the strongest connections yet between Gordon, the G-Man, and Alex and Eli Vance.
We sometimes use sounds to set a mood rather than to literally underscore the on-screen action. The G-Man sequence you just saw, for example, relies heavily on the use of abstract and ambient sounds. We wanted the soundscape to have a deadened, internalized quality that you get from putting your hands over your ears. So we started with recordings from inside the womb. If you listen closely, you can hear the internal gurgling noises as well as muffled heartbeats. We then added various other effects around the rhythm of the heartbeat, plus long-tailed reverbs. None of the door or transition effects are literal interpretations, but are obscure metal and feedback sounds created to work in sync with the observable actions. So all of these things contribute to the scene's dreamlike quality.
We weave the Freeman's life with hers. Yes, there is a quickening. Hopes for this bond between you.
Dr. Freeman, I realize this moment may not be the most convenient for a heart-to-heart, but I had to wait until your friends were otherwise occupied. There was a time they cared nothing for Miss Vance, when their only experience of humanity was a crowbar coming at them down a steel corridor. When I plucked her from Black Mesa, I acted in the face of objections that she was a mere child and of no practical use to anyone. I have learned to ignore such naysayers when quelling them was out of the question. Still, I am not one to squander my investments, and I remain confident she was worth far more than the initial appraisal. That's why I must now extract from you some small repayment owed for your own survival. See her safely to White Forest, Dr. Freeman. I wish I could do more than keep an eye on you, but I have agreed to abide by certain restrictions. Well, now listen carefully, my dear. When you see your father, relay these words. Prepare for unforeseen consequences.
She stirs. Her vortal form has regained integrity. We have a very immeasurable loss.
Oh, God.
Lie still.
Oh my God. I thought for sure I was dead.
The Combine hunters caused traumatic injury.
A hunter. So that's what it was.
We knit shattered bone and restored circulatory integrity. Yet it was a free man who retrieved her vortessence.
Yeah, that's Gordon. How long have I been out?
A matter of hours.
Hours? Ugh. We've got to get moving.
A moment longer.
But we have to get to White Forest. It's vital.
No fear. We will put you on the right road. Now, try carefully to rise.
Whoa. I don't know what you did, but I have a feeling I'm lucky to be here.
Come then. I will get you on the path to White Forest.
Come on, Gordon. Next to me.
We will continue our hunt for advisors. Farewell. Go safely. Travel well.
Good luck out there. Okay, Freeman. Be adequate. What the hell does that mean, anyway? I don't know. Sounds like something the Forts would say.
मतलब खुद मतलब बोलना भी है तो दिमाग से नहीं बोलना.
I think I can walk on my own now. Let me give it a shot. Yeah. Stiff, but I think I'm okay. I really consider working on Alex my acting school because it has stretched me, it has made me go deeper in my work, it's sharpened me up as far as being able to call in emotions or really just imagination. A creative spirit is really just a lot of imagination, I think. And afterwards, I always seem to be sharper in everything I do. I always have a good show at night, or I always go on to the next job with a heightened awareness or heightened presence. And it's only helped me. So thank you, Alex, for that. Whoa! That was a guardian. Somebody must have done something to piss it off.
The Guardian is enraged over our theft of the extract. If it tries to hinder our progress, we will have no choice but to kill it.
You messed with its eggs? Oh, no wonder it's mad.
In this vista, we release the player from the confines of the subterranean world and thrust them into a vast open space on a scale rarely seen in our previous games. The narrative takes advantage of the scale as well. With our allies at close range and our enemy is on the distant bridge, we are reminded of the personal stakes and the larger threat, all in one short scene.
The scattered Combine forces.
So that's what we saw in the Citadel. They're sure in a hurry.
They move north with great purpose.
North? White Forest! We have to get there ahead of them.
I know of humans with a vehicle not far from here. They will understand our urgent need.
What are we waiting for?
We tried several different ways of showing the advisor traveling with the Combine forces. We started off with an advisor pod flying over the troops, much as they flew from the Citadel at the end of Episode 1. However, we didn't want to give the impression that those pods were anything but emergency escape units. They were not meant to be self-powered flying crafts that could be piloted around in future episodes. We ended up with the solution you see here. APCs are pulling a structure holding an inert advisor pod. This lets the player study the advisors at different points in their life cycle. They see the main stages of the advisor's metamorphosis, from harmless larvae into powerful and highly mobile monsters.
Sometimes very small changes can make a big difference. Originally, these troops all marched in lockstep, using the same walk animation. This looked extremely robotic. We took a second walk animation that had been done for this troop skeleton, a more upright, casual walk, and programmed each soldier to randomly blend between the two walk cycles as he crossed the bridge. This 30-minute change made a huge difference in the scene.
Most of our dramatic scenes are constrained in such a way that the player can't progress until the scene is over. For example, there might be a gate that only Alex or a Vortigaunt can open. In this scene, where the Vortigaunt and Alex first see the Combine marching on White Forest, we simply placed a few barrels to block the way while Alex and the Vortigaunt speak. With just this slight impediment, every playtester stayed and watched the scene as intended, so no explicit gate was needed.
Alex's model underwent some upgrades for Episode 2. We added 2 new holes to her jacket, courtesy of a hunter, and dirtied her texture up a bit to show wear and tear. We also increased her polygon count, and to help with her jacket, we added shoulder blades to her back so that it flexes better when she lifts her arms. Additionally, we reconnected her belt, so that instead of being rigidly attached, it now flexes and slides around more. A lot of this stuff you won't even notice. It'll just look right. Yeah, that's Alex. She's wearing a jacket. You wouldn't even think about it. It's easy to have the computer draw something stiff and awkward, but doing that pulls you out of the game. You stop believing in the characters. They just become icons. Our goal is to make our characters simply look natural, but to do that requires lots and lots of work and tons of new technology. The irony is, if we've done our job, you won't even notice. It'll just look right.
Initially, we built this area around the sand traps mechanic from Half-Life 2, warning the player that stepping on sand would trigger swarms of antlions. Soon after the warning, however, the safe islands of rock ran out, and the player was forced to run across the sand as quickly as possible. Players were confused by this and upset because Alex and the Vortigaunt would simply say they had no choice and head straight across the sand. To solve this, we decided to stage the combat with safe zones around Thumpers instead.
This vista is one of the largest open outdoor areas we've tackled in our games. When rendering such an area in real time, it's necessary to use various level of detail techniques made available to us by the source engine. For example, the distant foliage and Combine enemies are rendered with far fewer polygons than they would be if they were meant to be viewed up close. Additionally, the organic shapes used to model the rocky outcroppings and valley floor below use complex shading operations to combine a relatively modest amount of texture data. This trade-off, which requires a manageable amount of texture data, allows us to use more polygons, enabling us to represent more organic shapes which are in contrast to the orthogonal forms common to our traditional urban environments.
On the wilderness for centuries.
This scenario required significant changes to the antlion guard behavior. Players of past games were used to dealing with only one guard in a confined space and without anywhere to hide. In this scenario, the player had a safe zone, but couldn't remain there to accomplish their goals. One change we made to the guards was in altering how they throw objects at the player. Originally, they shoved objects directly toward the player at high speeds. These objects were really hard to dodge, and if you weren't paying complete attention, you could easily be blindsided and killed. The guards now hurl objects along an arcing trajectory, which not only gives the player a greater opportunity to dodge, but looks awesome. The player gets to see the guard launch a car from 100 feet away, then step aside just as it crashes to the ground where they were standing.
Some testers had trouble realizing when they were doing damage to the antlion guards, so we've added a bleeding effect that grows more serious as the guards' hit points decline. This kind of visual feedback makes more intuitive sense to the players. It suits the biological nature of the creature and frees us from having to rely upon spoken explanations of gameplay.
We wanted to create a tension between Gordon and the Antlion Guardians that would develop over several levels and only resolve out here in the open. In order to differentiate this Guardian from the others the player had encountered throughout Half-Life 2 and Episode 1, we changed his texture to a glowing green. This gave the player the satisfaction of avenging himself on the creature that had chased him through the underground lair.
At this time, you may kill without consequence. Bars our way, but now we are free to destroy it.
Early in the development for this level, we used an animation for Alex that showed her as clearly injured as she ran along behind the player. This really slowed her down, however, and playtesters did not enjoy waiting for her to catch up or going back to retrieve her. To address this, we started a recovery in the preceding map to make sure she was healthy enough to run at a regular speed before reaching this area.
दूसरा वाला तो बड़ी आसानी से मर गया।
Sorry, couldn't be more help.
Well done, Freeman. Freeman, you dispatched those guards with great dispatch. Come now. The vehicle we seek is in the encampment above. This lift will carry us to where the vehicle awaits.
Thanks, Gordon.
Puzzling. The sentries should have spotted us by now.
You think the Combine found them?
Such a theory is hardly far-fetched.
अब लेवल लोड आएगा।
For attentive players, this is the first time we've allowed a glimpse of the G-Man since Half-Life 2. In Episode 1, we suppressed the G-Man's visitations completely to show that he had lost track of Gordon. But after Alex's healing incident earlier in Episode 2, he is actively watching again. Keep an eye out for him.
किधर ओए किधर कमांड मारूंगा बाहर तेरे ये G-Man.
Hey, look! Out on that bridge. I think I see the car you were talking about.
It appears they attempted an escape, but made it no farther than the abyss.
Well, if they got it over there, maybe we can jump it back to this side.
In Episode 1, Alex climbs up into a hidden room and uses a combined sniper rifle to assist the player. The player never sees the rifle, only the targeting beam. For Episode 2, we decided to show the combined sniper rifle and let the player know exactly where Alex would be standing when she used it. However, making it visible and accessible to the player required us to come up with a way to make the rifle usable only with the Vortigaunt's help. Though it's somewhat of a contrived and arbitrary device for keeping the player from using the gun, we felt it was a worthwhile trade-off, given that playtesters tended to enjoy the co-op sequence of Alex assisting them from above.
I will look after the Alex Vance.
Well, Gordon, I guess it's all up to you. Here, I'll get this field down. Good luck, Gordon. Careful now.
cara, sí. ये क्या करना है?
The ambient sound of the poisoned zombie breathing was placed here to make the descent into the building scary. Although most of the team thought it was comical, there were a few playtesters visibly unnerved. One playtester stood at the opening to this room for a long time, afraid to go in.
Whoa. एहसास ही नहीं वो वॉइस नोट इतना छोटा था.
Training players who haven't played previous episodes is always a challenge. Those who had not played episode 1 did not immediately understand that the Combine sniper beam was friendly. They avoided it, thinking it could damage them. Therefore, we added this staircase scenario, where we reintroduce Alex's sniper behavior and make a show out of her shooting a zombie to protect the player.
In this scene, we rigged an entity called a physics explosion to create movement among the boxes inside the dumpster. One playtester we had threw a grenade into the dumpster, and the physics explosion entity caused the grenade to fly back out. The player was surprised, thinking the zombie had tossed back his grenade. Although this happened by accident the first time, we went ahead and set up the entities to make sure it would happen for every player who lobbed the grenade into the dumpster.
This is an instance where observing playtests gave us ideas for tuning the experience. In an early version, playtesters would trigger the lights to go out and the zombies to wake up. Then, they would run out of the room and close the door. After seeing this repeatedly, we added a trigger allowing the zombies to open the door and chase the player.
There you are.
Medical systems. More administered.
Earlier in this level, we blocked the path with fire and forced the player to turn off a gas jet to continue. Fire traps of this sort were plentiful in Half-Life 2, but we could not count on players knowing or remembering how to use them here. Having offered some brief training, we now build on the mechanic by having the player work with Alex to create a cooperative fire trap. Most players turn on the gas, at which point Alex shoots a zombie on the stairs to create the wall of fire. This triggers a parade of zombies to come out of the door below and walk into the fire.
Detected.
Pero muy pardio.
Saw blades were a prominent weapon in Half-Life 2, and we wanted the player to recognize them as part of their arsenal in the upcoming warehouse battle. After watching several playtesters ignore them completely, we decided to add the zombie pinned to the wall. Most players pull out the saw blade and instantly realize its potential for destruction. After that, they tend to find and use saw blades without further prompting.
The battle in the warehouse was created fairly late in the development of this map, when we realized that the level had a steady stream of combat, but no real climax. We wanted to take advantage of Alex's sniping abilities, building on the scene in Episode 1 where the player can punt boards off windows to give her a better view of attacking zombies. Here, we have the player removing tin roof panels to give Alex a line of sight into the room below.
कहाँ से है?
As much as possible, we try to create small surprises for the player that aren't related to combat at all. With this forklift puzzle, we wanted to trick the player into assuming that once they operated the lift, the puzzle would be solved. However, the player soon realizes that the obvious solution is actually a bit of misdirection.
In previous versions of this level, the platform opened directly into this pit of toxic waste. Playtesters who didn't recognize the waste as something harmful would jump straight into the pit. We changed the path so the player could make a safe landing and slowly come to understand the toxic threat.
We always look for opportunities to add narrative touches in our levels. The idea behind this chair, the submachine gun, and the beer bottles is that someone used to sit here, drink beer, and drop grenades into the pit of zombies. We give the player the opportunity to reenact this experience by giving out unlimited grenades and spawning zombies as soon as the player reaches this spot.
Toxin levels detected.
बेटा तू बच
Although this bridge is not the first occasion for cinematic physics in the episode, it was the original test subject we used to develop our effects. In early prototypes, the bridge started off in its broken position. It was a static object the player had to navigate to retrieve the car. When we incorporated the cinematic physics, we thought this bridge would be a great opportunity for players to see an immense piece of the environment transform before their eyes. The bridge collapse not only showcases the cinematic physics, it reminds players of the growing threat from the superpower and sets up a navigational puzzle they must use the car to solve.
The original Episode 2 vehicle was dubbed the Jalopy, which says something about how uncool it was. Early feedback was that it seemed too similar to the Half-Life 2 buggy. So we decided to redesign it so that players would feel excited rather than disappointed when they saw the car. Alex's original line when she first saw the Jalopy echoed the feelings of many early viewers. "What a wreck. Forget about White Forest. We'll be lucky if we make it to the end of the block."
Having decided that we were going to rely on a car to get to White Forest, we had to figure out how to get Alex into the vehicle. Games often accomplish this by moving their characters close to the vehicle and then teleporting them inside in a very visible and jarring manner. We knew this would ruin Alex's believability as a character, so she had to smoothly get into a vehicle the way you would expect a person to in real life. This was no small task, given all the strange angles and positions the player could work the vehicle into. Alex also needed multiple entries into a vehicle, given that the doorway she wanted to use could be blocked or otherwise inaccessible. This also provided interesting moments for Alex, where she could vault over the hood of the vehicle in a very heroic fashion. The interaction between her and the vehicle was intriguing just by itself. Once we were sure she could enter and exit the vehicle convincingly, we then had the task of making her believable as she sat next to you. Our first experiments revolved around Alex reacting to the physical nature of the vehicle. When it crashed into a wall, she needed to be jolted. When you went around a bend, she needed to lean with the momentum of the car. These details were crucial in making her feel like she was really going along for the bumpy ride with you. We also wanted her to be very aware of her surroundings and what the player was doing while in the vehicle. If you ran over a zombie, she needed to echo the internal reward the player felt for accomplishing the feat. If you were about to hit the wall, we wanted her to flinch and react to the impending collision, much as the player at home would be doing. There was a fine balance between making her too much of a backseat driver or having her be too quiet next to you. Ultimately, we wanted Alex's presence in the vehicle to seem so natural that players would never consider it anything other than normal.
I don't think I really got the full scope of what Alex Vance is or how she's created until the first time that I went to Valve headquarters. And what was really important was that I got a better idea of how big the team was. I mean, a lot of people work really hard to make Alex Vance who she is. And I mean, you hear my voice and, you know, it's easy to say, oh, that's Alex, or Jamil is Alex, but that is so not the case. These people spend hours in front of their computer or writing their scripts or dreaming up this beautiful person, and it really just, I'm just the cake topping, really.
लग रहा है मैंने एपिसोड का हिस्सा कवर किया है और मसला ये है कि मैं नेक्स्ट टाइम कंटिन्यू करूँगा तो स्ट्रीम ज़्यादा लंबी नहीं होगी, ये बड़ा मसला होगा। फिर भी खैर